Kalimera, kalispera, kalinikta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's a new week, it's a blank canvas, time to paint pictures and tell football stories with one of our favourites. What a massive few weeks for the Gunners. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday to everyone. And to those who celebrate, hope you had a lovely Easter. And big news in the world today, the Pope passes away. Incredible that he passes away on Easter Monday. So sending lots of love out there to those who this matters to. And in a crazy time that we're living in, seemed like this particular Pope tried to do good things. So sending love to everyone who's affected by that. Paul, how was your Easter?
Hi, Sophia. Very good, thank you. Just come back from spring break with the family from Palm Springs, so I can't complain.
Very nice, very nice. And the usual welcome back to Squad Central for Mr. Buckle. You were 1.2 minutes late, and I've been very ruthless, just like Chris Kavanagh, other referees and VAR this season, Paul. And you sit among some of the greats, David Ornstein, Peter Drury, and so a yellow card for you. I believe this is your first ever yellow card on Highbury Squad. Not even Rebecca got a yellow card.
I'm absolutely devastated. When I looked at the clock, it said 1:45, but I'll take it. It's not my first as a player or a manager.
I love that. And good evening, squaddies. At ease to you. Welcome to everyone. Sending everyone lots of love on this Monday. Please listen to our Chief Like Officer and hit that like button. Michael's in the house. Jamie's here. Lone Star Londoner from the great state of Texas. Ian is here. Very funny video you sent me today, Ian, of the Greeks cooking their souvla. I really appreciated that. PW is here. A shout out to Matthew as well. And let's see, Harvey's here. It is a late one. Most people will be listening on replay. And for those listening on replay, thank you so much. And in the description, by the way, is the link to our Apple podcast. I would appreciate a subscription and a review if you can, squaddies. It just takes a couple minutes. So Wasim is here. Trev is here. The whole family's here. Let's get stuck in and get inside the mind of a manager and also a sporting director. And also a player as well. Paul's done it all. He's won all the hats, been there at the very top and also seen the tough side of football too. I wanted to start off, Paul, with, I'm going to keep this as happy and as positive as can be, even though I'm really rooting for Sheffield United for obvious reasons. We want to see Tyrese Campbell playing in the Premier League. A massive moment today for Leeds United and also for Burnley. I'm happy for Scott Parker. He's definitely one of the good guys in football. But having managed in this league, it's so tough. I mean, the weekly struggle. It's also become one of the most exciting leagues to watch. A quick word from you, who covers the Championship for TalkSport as well. What can we expect from Burnley and Leeds? And what do you think about the automatic promotions today?
Well, yeah, huge congratulations to both of those clubs. So if it's a massive achievement. You saw it written on Scott Parker's face at the end of the game. He went up into the stands to see his family and the club that supported him so well this season. I think the biggest one is not going through the playoffs. It's getting the job done early so they can prep for what's going to be another really, really difficult season for them both in the Premier League and try not to be that yo-yo club, really. I think that maybe they can take a leaf out of Forest's book this season. Of what they've done, but yeah, it's massive to get out of that league, to do it so consistently like they have. I didn't see Chris's team falling away like they have. I didn't see that happening to Sheffield United, but it just shows you at times what can happen. When you're coming at the pressure time of the season. So yeah, good luck to both of those teams. Two great football clubs.
Love that. Some of our squaddies showing off as well. Jamie's watching us in Italy, and Ayushman is watching the show at 37,000 feet. Absolutely love that. Jamie wants you to tell her where in the world you're watching as well. It just hit me why it says buckle in. Ha ha ha. Incredible. Well, you know, we like to be funny here too. Paul, I was going to ask you, because you cover your broadcasting hat on to the championship for TalkSport, and curiously, Leeds and Burnley, to me, if there's lessons to be learned from this season, when you look at how poor Southampton been, Ipswich a little bit better at times, and Leicester just absolutely awful. Investment is so important for these teams in order to stay up. It's getting tougher every year. Is there a player, though, in the championship that you feel, I mean, whether Arsenal should be looking at them or other teams, like that you feel has got that magical quality that can make the step up? We've seen it before. You know, players like Ollie Watkins coming through the ranks, and Jamie Vardy, of course, and many others. Even David Raya was playing non-league football. Now he's playing Champions League football. Anyone out there that we should be keeping our eye on?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great point that you make. I think goals is going to be massive to those teams. We spoke about it with Arsenal, you know, needing them goals, needing that firepower. And I think Leeds have got one in Joel Perrault, if I pronounce his name right. His record so far has been incredible. His record at Leeds, you know, and this season again, 19 goals. I think it's 6 assists. He plays more or less every game, every season for the last 4 seasons. And I think he's one that's gone under the radar. A lot of his finishes, calm, left foot, right foot. So I think Leeds will really want to keep hold of him. But I'm sure there'll be clubs in the Premier League now, established clubs, looking at me, amazed if they're not with that type of record.
And interestingly, the teams that are going down, and Lone Star talking about Liam Delap, who's very sought after. Wondered if you rated him, and if you feel like he can make a step up to like a big 6 team. Is it sometimes players shine in average teams? He definitely looks like he has a lot of talent, and should be kind of honing his craft in the Premier League. What's your thought on the teams that are going down, and of course players who've had a taste of the Premier League? They're going to want to stay up.
Yeah, I think the Lap's definitely got all the attributes you'd need to be a Premier League player. I think that, you know, he's strong, he's quick, he's very skillful for a big guy, and he knows where the goal is. So I think when you're doing your recruiting, so you can look at them teams that are not doing so well, and there can be a hidden gem in there that's scoring goals, you know, in a team that's struggling. If you look at strikers, and he's not getting that many opportunities, but he's still managing to put the ball in the back of the net. They're the type of players that you can sometimes go and steal away from that club. But it's very difficult for the clubs that are going to go down to hold on to the players. I think that we've seen it. I mean, my former club Luton, for example, when you know, out in the championship, won today, but so did everybody else. You know, maybe they had that hangover with players that thought they was going to move on, so wanted to stay in the Premier League, got caught up with that, weren't quite able to roll their sleeves up in what is a really tough league in the Championship. So the clubs going down have got all types of problems. Southampton, former club where I coached with the 23s, Southampton, huge problems, you know, from going up through the playoffs to then sacking their manager, and it's just not getting any better. And I think, you know, you can go from being in a really looking like a really strong position to really falling away quickly. So it's all to do for all of those clubs. But yeah, what a day for Leeds today and Burnley. What a day.
Yeah. And Leeds thrashing Stoke as well. Unreal. So I think, you know, Leeds is always good fun in the Premier League, big club. Burnley, no love lost between us and Burnley, really. But we'll see what happens in the playoffs. And we're really rooting for Sheffield United on this show, and Tyrese Campbell to get that moment in the Premier League as well. So, yeah, good stuff. Right, let's talk about the Gunners now. And then at the end of the show, which I'm doing now with all of our guests between now and the end of the season, I'm going to get Paul's best and worst. And squaddies, you can chime in every week on this one, because I'm sure sometimes your opinions will change. But we'll get Paul's take on that as well. Paul, it's been an incredible last couple of weeks being an Arsenal fan, and you kind of, beating Real Madrid in the fashion that we did, soaking up this moment as a fan. Part of you not wanting to get too carried away, but like I say to the squaddies, dreaming is part of football. I titled the show today Building a Legacy, because I feel like now's the time, when teams haven't been superb in Europe. I think the 4 best teams consistently, you could say Liverpool, but PSG and Arsenal kind of kept up their quality in terms of being that top 3 that finished in the group stage. Firstly, I just want to get your take on Arsenal's achievement against Real Madrid. And for Mikel Arteta as a gaffer, I know he talks about not listening to the noise, but the satisfaction he must have felt after that. And you, as kind of a football fan watching, what you thought of Arsenal's achievement?
I thought it was massive. Given the way the Premier League has gone for Mikel and Arsenal, so to raise the players, I wouldn't say spirits, but the title's gone, and that does have an effect. To put that type of performance on against a top club and a top team, and a team that's fancied to win it over 2 legs, they've beaten them royally, really. I mean, in the second, we all know the first leg Declan Rice did was amazing, but they've looked comfortable. So from when they went to the Bernabeu, I thought that they might suffer early in the game. I did. I watched it, and they didn't. They looked very, very accomplished. Mikel looked super relaxed. I think he's growing into it. I've spoken about this before. As a manager, you do need time. You hear it time and time again. And I really hope that the Arsenal just stick with Mikel. Just stick with him, because you're on the cusp of doing something great. I think it can come in the Champions League. I don't see it as a dream. I really think Arsenal can do it. They're in form. They're scoring a lot of goals again. And I think that, when you look at what Rice has done in his performances for the club, he's worth every penny. I mean, I heard the other day somebody saying, what's he worth now? What's his value's gone up, when 100 million was really sort of balked at a little bit in certain areas, wasn't it, of the game?
Mm-hmm.
Was this midfielder? But he's an all-rounder now, and bossed it against Bellingham in 2 legs. So I think Arsenal are in a really good spot, and I really think if they can win it, it will be unbelievable. It'd be almost like what Rory McIlroy's done, with the Masters, where you just think now he's got nothing to worry about, and he could just really go and express himself. And I think Mikel and the team could really go and do that and make a hell of a push next season for the Premier League title.
Okay, so were you watching the show last week? Because I did a whole thing on Rory and Arsenal, and when I was watching the Masters, all I could think about was Rory and Arsenal, and Rory's quote, I started to wonder if it would ever be my time. And I couldn't help but think, and I was willing him and praying for him to change the narrative. And I feel like, Arsenal are in the same boat, kind of the almost team. And so we had this whole be the Masters in Madrid. And yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Rory.
I honestly did not apologise, first of all. I didn't watch the show. But great minds think alike, so maybe that yellow card can be rescinded now.
Oh,
but yeah, no, I think it is. It's like that with Arsenal. I think but the performances, and they've continued it. You might have thought going to Ipswich, was it, that you might sort of get a bit of a drop off. No chance. So I really think we're in a great place now.
Yeah, and you're right, Lone Star, 2 comprehensive victories. If you got a question for us, throw a Q in front of it, and we'll get to it at the end of the show. Now, you've kind of, when you were playing for Brentford, Paul, and then you went on to manage the teams, being involved in, relegation and promotion playoffs, so much at stake in the playoffs. And with regards to, I want to stick with this legacy thing with you for a little bit. And I saw this, by the way, Gunners. I had to put it up there for you because it just looks so good. But building a legacy right now for Mikel Arteta, I feel like now is the time. And if there's ever, a moment for him to change the conversation, and and I think the only way you change the conversation, Paul, is by winning. And I truly believe that if we win the Champions League, this will be this generation's Anfield '89 and the Invincibles. Some people say to me, "Oh, how can you compare it to Wenger going unbeaten?" Maybe you can compare it to what George Graham did at Anfield. Each stand on their own as incredible accomplishments. But I think winning a trophy that nobody has done at Arsenal, and a trophy that most opposing teams use as a dart to throw at us every single season, I think this changes the conversation for Mikel massively. And if ever there's a moment for him and changing the history of Arsenal, but also cementing his legacy in Arsenal folklore, this would be it. What's your take on that, having been around Graham and the Wenger era as well?
Well, as you said, the '89 and the Invincibles, they stand on their own in Arsenal's history. They're very different. So, the domestic title is very difficult to win. Going that many games unbeaten is equally as difficult. But you'd have to say the Champions League now, which Arsenal haven't won, European Cup, Champions League, is massive. It's humongous. It's the biggest cup, I feel. I really do. The top teams, the top teams fight it out, European teams, and Arsenal are right there. And if you're going to win it, you've got to beat the best, like I spoke about, in Real Madrid. And that's not an easy place to go in the second leg when you've got it all to lose. And missing a penalty in that manner. And then Saka scored a brilliant goal. Again, I think Arsenal have grown. And I think this will be as big, if not bigger, because it's the present, it's the now. And it will put Arsenal right there. It will escalate the club, the players, Mikel, right to the very top, because very few managers and clubs can win it.
Yeah, it really, I know that Harvey's telling me not to jump the gun. Let's get through PSG. It's called positive talk, Harvey, and we should be willing this to happen. And I don't want to be afraid of talking about the what ifs. You guys know how much I love playing the what if game. The other thing too is I think, and you could tell us, because like I said at the top of the show, it's obvious that managers and players listen to the media and they're on social media a lot. And I think that this is the time to change the narrative. A couple of your really good friends here going at it, Mr. Buckle on NBC, hosted by the great Rebecca Lowe. Robbie Mustoe, an instant cult hero, welcome anytime now at the Emirates after scolding Mr. Neville, who of course has a bee in his bonnet about Arsenal. He was part of the great rivalry in the 90s. But the media really, and Rebecca, I ask her this question all the time. She goes, so the media doesn't have it out for Arsenal. It's like the criticism kind of is turnkey, depending on, you could say the same thing for Tottenham, getting it, and kind of how embarrassing they are and stuff like that. It just seems like with Arsenal and our fans that it's a little bit extra. So doing this and being able to shut people up like Gary would be so pleasurable. The team and the manager do listen and watch what's being said, don't they, Paul? Because don't they use it as fuel?
Yeah, I think they can look. I mean, they'll be very aware of what's going on in the media and what the players are looking at, because the players will certainly be looking at it. I'll be amazed if they're not. The way, how easy it is now with phones to see something immediately. And yeah, you're always looking, as a manager, you're always looking for someone to make your job easy for you. That's for sure. I mean, sometimes you just make it up that you'd heard something had been said, because it's all about motivation. If you can get that motivation and the arousal levels right sky high, so along with the ability these players have got, you're normally in for a good afternoon or evening. So yeah, you are aware of what's going on, and you are looking for anything you can get to get an edge on the opponent. But I just think that when you get to this stage of this tournament, you've got to believe you can win it. You've got to believe you can win it with the play. You've got to look around in the dressing room. Any team that I've been in, you know, be it lower level, you still got to win it at that level. And you look around at the people around you. And I've been fortunate to win in dressing rooms as a player and as manager. You take strength from it. You absolutely think this isn't just me on my own. Yeah, I've got to perform and I've got to bring my best game. But you just can take real strength from the players around you, the manager, how he's behaving. And I think all of those, Arsenal right now ticking all those boxes. The key is to keep it going. And look, PSG, you know, what they conceded 4 goals in the 2 legs against Villa. There's going to be a lot for the analysis team to look at for Mikel to see how they can get at them. But, you know, I don't know when the last time a team got into the semi-final conceding that many goals. So, you know, they can be got at. And Arsenal, you know, are an attacking team. They're scoring goals at the moment. So, yeah, you're right. Let's be positive.
Paul, if you were Mikel, when you're doing the film in preparation for the game, are you focused? Of course, you're going to focus on a lot of what's happened in Europe. But in particular, are you going to focus? You just said something and my light bulb went on those 4 goals, kind of what happened before, after, and during those moments, because some would argue, and I think they'd be right, that we have a much more talented team than Aston Villa. Is that what you would be focusing on as the manager in prep?
Absolutely. It's a lot easier so when you can watch how they've conceded goals and what's led to the goals and how they've behaved after, how they've behaved when they've been ahead like they were against Villa. You know, how they're going to defend it. And Mikel will be going through the scenarios. He'll be going through the scenarios if they're leading, if you're drawing, if you're behind, you know, what you'll do from the bench. All of those things now, the modern day manager will be thinking about the personnel he's got on the bench. But he'll be drawing a lot from his own team's performance. There's nothing better than being able to say to your team, look, we're in great form. Yeah, of course, we've got to look at the opposition, but not for too long, because we focus on ourselves and our own performance. I think all the great teams that win really do focus on that more so than the opposition, if I'm honest. You know, they go and take the game to the opposition. And in these moments, and in any moment when you're in a big game, you don't want it to pass you by. So that big test against Madrid, let's have more of the same.
Yeah, interesting. Let me read out a couple of comments from the squaddies. I know Arteta has been with us for a long time, but it feels as if this is the beginning of an era. Touching on what Paul was saying there on you've got to keep in. Demsek says the Real Madrid game proves that a team is more important than talent. Let's see. Harvey coming back at me here. Sophia, I'm more positive than only my mum used to call me that when I was in trouble. I'm more positive than anyone for my dear Arsenal, but one game at a time. I know. And Mikel would be taking it one game at a time. I'm taking it a little bit further. Imran says we need to win new titles and create new memories. Ayushman says winning the Champions League sets us up for success for the next 5+ years. Everyone will want to stick together and it increases the hunger to go for big trophies again and again. And then let's see. Lone Star says PSG are very good, but I think we're suited to play them. BX Gunner says PSG are in form, should be an excellent semi-final. And it really should be an excellent semi-final, and one that we fans should savour. So, Paul, let's say he does do it. I kind of think you alluded to it, but each one sits in its own time. Graham, Wenger, Mikel. You building a statue for Mikel outside the Emirates?
No, I don't know if we're going to build a statue yet of Mikel, but I think it's as big, if not bigger. I really do. I really do. The modern game where it's getting tougher. I'm not saying it wasn't tough back in Wenger's day, with George Graham's, but I just think where everything is with Mikel in his managerial career right now, trying to establish himself properly right there with the big boys, and for Arsenal not to have won it shows how difficult it is. This would be massive. This would be absolutely massive to be the first manager to bring that, that sort of silverware, the top silverware to the club. Would be, I think he'd be pretty high up in managers that have managed Arsenal.
Okay, so I want to take your mind now into the player, because one of the things the late great Super Kev always used to say on this show was, "It's the players, Soph, it's the players." And I used to argue with that. I argue with him about that a lot. And a really good manager builds a team in their image. You and I have talked about that as well. It seems to me, Paul, something has switched. I don't know what it is. But it seems when you see someone like Martinelli playing the way he is and confidently, and thanks to Gunnar Chris for this fantastic shot of Martinelli. You talked about Declan Rice. We've lauded him a lot over the last couple of weeks, undoubtedly solidifying his spot as a world-class player. Let's hope we put that conversation to bed. When you see Trossard, who gets really pissed off when he doesn't start, and thought he was brilliant against, Ipswich are a poor side, but you can only play who's in front of you, Paul. And then you see players like Kivior stepping up and partnering Saliba and playing flawless football. And some said even better than Saliba did at the Bernabeu. Players like David Raya, who've been waiting for this moment, quotes like, "We're here just to create our own history," which I love. Timber, just for me, one of the best signings Mikel has had. And I don't know who did this. I think it's Gunnar Chris, but I had to put it up there. Thomas Partey as the general over the last few weeks. It seems to me, Paul, the players are ready. What's your take on when the manager? It's like at some point the players have got to take over. What's your take?
No, sorry to interrupt there. Yeah, hearing what Super Kev said, I get it, because there's only so much you can do as a manager. I know that for sure. And I also, a long time ago now, but I can remember that feeling as a player saying, right, we're winning tonight. It doesn't matter how we win it, how we do it. We do our individual jobs. You're looking at each other, and I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but you are in the dressing room. Because it's almost like, you better not let me down tonight. I'm not going to let you down. You better not let me down tonight. And I think all the great teams have that. To win something, you need it. You need that grit and determination and trust. I think they trust in each other now more than ever. It does take time again, and I'm agreeing with you. Look, we know that things can fall over quickly in football. We know that. But you would rather be in the form that the Arsenal are in now, individually and collectively, and as you say, with players coming in, which is not always easy to do. You'd much rather take that than be on the training field worrying about certain things and dynamics. And it looks really, really smooth right now, with and without the ball for the Arsenal. And in these games that they've been up against, you're fully tested. I mean, you're tested to the max. You're 3-0 up against the likes of Madrid. You're tested to the maximum with everything. Mentality. Are we going to lose it? Do we go to the next goal? I never saw Arsenal. I was never worried in the game when I watched it. And when I sat there as a manager, sometimes I was a little bit worried. Sometimes thinking, we got this. I could feel it. You can feel it. You can feel the players. But you do need the combo. You do need to look at the manager. I think you do. I mean, Kev was top player. And top players behave differently. They sometimes forget everyone else. So I can't speak that. I didn't play in the Premier League. I was in the Championship with Brentford. But I think you need the manager to have the swagger. You need the manager to look at him and think, he trusts us, to be able to trust yourself sometimes as a team. And I think Arsenal got that chemistry right now, and I just wanted to keep hold of that.
Yeah, right. I know this is a player you and I have talked about before. I've talked about this player with Rebecca and Henry Winter the last time they were on as well. And I've mentioned to you how peeved I am that, there was this conversation brewing about, Anthony Gordon and Madueke and Cole Palmer. can we please just take a minute, and I want you to give me your point of view on Bukayo Saka and talk about a player that has given this team a lift in so many ways. And I don't like to kind of use the rearview mirror unless I'm checking my lipstick. But Paul, the idea of him being fit for the season and what could have been, you can't help but think that as a fan. To me, Bukayo is a world-class player now. He's a superstar in the making. Jude Bellingham may have 30 million plus followers on Instagram, but that's because he plays for Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. I thought that he was the England star along with Declan Rice, overshadowing Jude, as you said. Talk to me a little bit about Bukayo Saka and what he means to you, not as an England fan, but also like shining for Arsenal and being the man.
Yeah, well, he's a class act on and off the field, so you can't help but love him. When you look at him, if you look at the way he plays the game, after missing the penalty, things he's been through, you know, with England, and then missing the penalty, and then having that composure, it's almost like now he says, I belong here, this is me now. And actually, I don't want to worry you all, but when I saw him playing Madrid, I thought he'll be high up on Madrid's list, and I'd be amazed if one day he doesn't play for them, you know, or if Barcelona are the top club when it's time for him to move on. If he does, don't upset any of you, but he's in that category now for me. For me now, seeing how much Arsenal have missed him, and then seeing how good he can be on immediate return in such a huge game, I think he's right there. He's going to be right there with the greats, and he's a world-class player for sure. So I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's great for Arsenal. I think he's great for England, and he's also great for someone like our son Ted. What a great role model for someone like our Teddy to look at. So yeah, he's $1 million.
Love that. Love that. And Miss Molina, you're right. Saka was injured for 3 to 4 months and no one has been able to break his top assist record. Speaks volumes. He is outstanding. Madrid fan says Barry asked about Arsenal players after the second leg and they said they wanted Saka and Rice. I'm not, I don't know. We always say like Saka's born and bred Arsenal, Haylender. This is why we've got to win, Paul. Because at the end of the day, players are going to want to win trophies, and Arsenal really have to kind of get to that point now. We went from process to progress, and I keep telling these guys it's got to be success now. And I think it was, I can't remember which listener said it in the chat. It's you want to keep your players together. You win something like the Champions League. There's no reason for Saliba to go to Real Madrid unless, of course, he has a dream to play for them. He talked in the media this week about Arsenal being his team and him having a shirt from the time he was 6 years old. Of course, anything can change, but you can win, stay a few years, try and win more, and then you can go fulfill those other desires and dreams as well. Another player I want to talk to you about, Paul, is, before we get on to the best and worst here, and there's a question from one of the listeners as well, and I want to tie into a little bit of the best and worst because I have an argument, because I'm going to ask you the best signing of the season, and you're going to tell me what you think. But let me just try and find this question. I think it was from Jamie about whether or not, let's see. Yeah. Is it a pro or con that we miss a solid striker right now? And there's a player to me, right, that I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here. And I've been thinking about this all weekend. And I was thinking about asking you this question today about your best signings of the season. I think you could argue that Mikel Merino is now one of the best signings of the season. And hear me out why, Paul. If you think about Arsenal without having him as an option, as the 9, right? A lot of fans are going to say, yeah, but we could have had Trossard in there. The physicality of that position, Paul, and what Merino's been able to bring to the table with that midfield mindset as well, I think has been invaluable. He needs to be lauded and applauded. And a lot of Arsenal fans talked about how wise Mikel gone out and bought Merino and Calafiori. Did he really need those players? Should have got a striker. What's your take on this player who's a midfielder? You're the gaffer and you're throwing it up. And by the way, I don't think Mikel gets enough credit for it. He's playing number 9, almost as good as Kai Havertz.
Well, Mikel's making a habit of turning these midfielders into strikers. really. I know it all goes towards dominating the ball and keeping possession of the ball. You know, it's very hard sometimes to get that striker that's quick in behind and really good at holding the ball up. That's a world-class striker right there. I still think and I'm getting away from the question, Arsenal are going to need to add a couple of strikers for sure, out and out strikers, because that's going to help you keep players as well as trophies when the players see you improving the squad. But no, it's lovely as a manager when that can happen. You bring someone in and they've had to be patient and wait, and then they get their chance. And in these huge games, to be performing at these levels, very, very satisfying. Very satisfying. And sometimes as a player, you can be a bit worried when players are coming in, so whether they can come in and do the job. But the balance of the team looks very, very good. With Trossard up there higher, the balance of the team looks very good. And that's vital in any great team, that balance of the team where you can really become functional. And the only way that you can really, I suppose, evaluate properly is in results and goals. And Arsenal scoring a lot of goals right now. So probably more now than we've done in quite a while. I wouldn't know those stats, but I'm sure Mikel's very, very happy with the goals that are being scored and the chances that are being created now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant, and the 2 assists against Real Madrid as well, absolutely fantastic, scoring important goals. And Graham Hunter came on this show and said, please be patient with him. Not only does he have a high football IQ, but he's going to get and have important moments for you as well. Let me throw this question at you, Paul, while we're on the subject of the striker. PW wants to know, would you play Trossard up front and Marino midfield versus PSG, or the other way around? What would you do, Gaffer?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm not really prepared for that. You guys will probably know more than me. I like Trossard a lot. I think he's clever. He's switched on. He's played a lot of games for Arsenal now. He's dangerous, and he's very, very intelligent. I think I'd play him a touch higher up the field. But with the way the Arsenal play, the way Mikel plays, players interchanging all the time. So, you know, when one's up high and they're coming short, the other one goes, that's that chemistry you're looking for in the team. I'm sure he's seeing that in training. And sometimes, so again, going back to what Super Kev was probably referring to, is the players, you sometimes get in a team and you just love playing with these players. And there's that understanding. You can work on things as a manager, and you can say the opposition, there's going to be spaces here and spaces there. But in that split second, it's that football intelligence, and you've got it in them 2 players in abundance.
Yeah, I have I don't know, with the physicality, maybe, I don't know, can intimidate PSG a little bit. I'd start Marino up front. And although I think it'll be the other way around, I think he'll play Marino in the midfield. He's shown, between him and Rice, that, he can push forward. He's got that killer pass now, which was proven against Real Madrid, to have someone in the midfield that can do that killer pass. Because Partey is really great at breaking the lines, Paul, and we're definitely going to need that. Rice's responsibility is going to be very different without Partey beside him as well, although he's been able to execute so brilliantly, I think, since Christmas onwards in the 8 and the 6. And really, if any player needs to step up, it's going to be Odegaard, who I think worked in the shadows a little bit against Real Madrid, and some was criticised harshly. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Right, let's get some of this done for you, from you. Some of the best and worst of the season. And I wanted to get your take here because it's going to involve some Arsenal players, which will continue our conversation a little bit. We got Paul for a few more minutes here. I'm asking all of our guests. And I just realized I got the Natalie Sawyer clip up instead of the Paul Buckle one, but that's okay. We all love Natalie. She's a good one. Your best signing of the season. Who do you think's been the best signing of the season?
Do you know what? I've struggled with actually finding one. So I was delighted when you said Marino. I think, and it's not a player for me, because simply I'm racking my brains. I don't think there's been that many really. But I think the best signing of the season is the manager, and sorry, it's got to be Arne Slot as the best signing of the season. I don't want to go away from the player thing, but what he's managed to do after Klopp and everything that went on, there'd been no expectation on them to do anything. I think that's been signing of the season. And like I say, player-wise, there's nothing that's jumping out and punching me in the face, really.
I mean, at the start, Marmoush seemed like he was going to be the guy to make the difference for City, wasn't he? And of course, Chelsea bought a ton of players. I think this is why I stand by my Mikel Marino. I think that what he's been able to do and what he's delivered, not saying he's the best player, but right now it's looking like he's the best signing. Who do you think's been the player of the season? Is that an easy one for you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say Mo Salah.
Yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, 27 goals and 18 assists, they're top numbers. You have that in. That's what the Arsenal got to find. I know it sounds easy, but it's going to make life a lot easier, and that's why they're that many points. It's a big reason why they're that many points clear, because they have a defence that is no nonsense as a rule. I mean, I think with the way they've just cleared the ball this year, it's really sort of gone back years where Van Dijk and they've just cleared their lines. You don't even hear that said anymore in the game, clear your lines. But they have. There've been no nonsense at the back, and they've had Mo Salah up top, who's just been unplayable. And going through, this contractual sort of discussion that he's gone through, he showed that he can still maintain them type of performances and them numbers. So he's my standout player.
Yeah, it's hard not to like him. BX, it's okay. January too, because we've seen January signings change teams and change momentum. You could argue that Trossard could have been a signing of the season when we signed him in the year we were going and challenging for the league. Okay, young player of the season. For me, there's only one answer to this, but I'd love to know yours, Mr. Buckle, the young player of the season.
I've obviously missed an obvious one. I'm a lover of Morgan Rogers right now. I know his numbers are not right up there. 8 goals, 8 assists. It's not a bad return for a 10, really. But I just think his performances are just going this way every week. I mean, that's the type of player I'd pay money to go and watch. Fabulous, both feet, runs at the opponent. So yeah, you're gonna trump me now, aren't you?
Of course, it's got to be Miles Lewis-Skelly. Yeah, he is yeah. Have I trumped you? I think so, right?
You've trumped me. And he's lovely mother as well. Of course you have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's lovely to see, isn't it? I think you've answered the manager of the season, or if Nuno finishes in a Champions League spot, is he a worthy winner over Arnie, who came in replacing a manager and wins the Premier League in his first season?
Without a doubt. Yeah, Nuno's arguably the number one. Although he can't take it away from Slot from winning it in his first season. But I'm assuming that Tottenham lost tonight.
They did. They did.
Did you smile then, Soph? Yeah. Amazing what he's done. And again, you've heard me mention Ross Wilson before, and the importance of a great sporting director. And Ross is right there. I'm sure he's more than his role at Forest and the dynamics around that club. But yeah, amazing. Sitting third now, I think, after that win.
Yeah, you did. You spoke about Ross Wilson last time you were here and the importance of the director of football role. And I hope that we found our Ross Wilson and our magic man in Andrea Berta, see what he's going to do. Okay. Do you have a worst signing of the season? Someone you look at and you think, oh, God, it just didn't work out. Just so bad.
I didn't until the weekend. Nicholas Fulbrook. He's made that easy for me. There is nothing more infuriating as a player or a manager when somebody, and I'll use the word, pipes up when they're not doing their own job. And it costs, I mean, this day and age, 27 million from Dortmund? It's been not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money. And 13 games and drawing at home to Southampton and then criticising and digging everybody else out. You don't do that. In professional sport, especially football, you've got to get your own house in order first before you start digging anybody else out. So yeah, he's that got up my nose at the weekend. So he's made that one easy for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ayushman, sorry to Rebecca Lowe, my good friend, but Eddie Nketiah has been one of the worst signings of the season. I agree with Imran that Solanke. Now, we can't push on them too much because they are in the semi-final of the Europa League, which is very annoying. But this is about Premier League, not Europe. And Biek's got a good shout on Mason Mount as well. I know that he's been injured too, but my goodness. And Nkunku, Chelsea, there's a few coming in now, but Solanke was 65 million. 65 million, and his impact in the Premier League has not been great, Paul. That's a lot of Wonga, isn't it?
It is, sorry, Soph, but I'm blaming Tottenham for that. There's something fundamentally wrong with the club. I mean, that's my biggest disappointment of the year. Spurs, it won't be yours, I know, but to go from 5th to 16th and be in the spotlight every single week. I mean, I'm not sure any player can go in there and do well.
So your biggest, that was the next one, biggest disappointment of the season is Spurs. For us, it's our biggest delight of the season, but I get it. As an all-rounder, they've been rubbish in the Premier League. They really have, terrible.
It is, and as when I was an apprentice at Brentford, our manager was Steve Perriman, and all you gooners would know that name. Steve played well over 800 games for Tottenham back in the day when Spurs had a real go. They won trophies. There were great derbies with the Arsenal. And their team was built on hard work, determination, all those things that Steve stood for. And I know Steve virtually all my life. Lived with his parents when I was an apprentice. The guys top. And had been a brilliant mentor to me. And Alex Inglethorpe won't mind me saying, Alex at Liverpool, who runs the academy. Steve, I text with Steve, and it's such a disappointment because tonight, and I know like these days you sort of think, oh, you can't say that, the players are allowed to smile. I love James Maddison actually. I think Maddison's top player, but they're 2-0 down, warming up. The camera goes on, and he's laughing his head off.
I know.
He's literally, and I'm like, I don't care about social media. Like, I'm looking at that as a professional, saying, you're having a laugh, really, with that. I mean, I would be fuming if I was a player and saw him doing that, because there's no space for even half a grin or a smile when you're 2-0 down at home in the first half and having the season they're having. And he's got a big smile on his face. I can't work that out. And I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the club for that to be allowed.
They're rotten to the core. You don't see... when Mikel Arteta was talking about his non-negotiables, Paul, I know as a manager, you're going to give him a bollocking at the end of the game. And this is kind of where people say, whether it's Ange Ball, the ill-disciplined and naivety about how he's not changed things, maybe just 1 or 2 games against City or us played defensively. They deserve everything they've gotten because they're rotten to the core. And they keep doing the same thing every single season. And of course, you're going to get no empathy from this channel or from any Arsenal fan around the world. It really annoys me when I see players laughing and exchanging like niceties after losing games, especially. It really bothers me. It might be a generational thing, Paul. I don't know.
You know what, Soph? I've had it, right? So when I was a manager, I won't name the club, I felt that in behind me. Just like I felt in behind me, brilliant people, fantastic people that I could never have won, certainly promotion as a manager, without these people behind me, right? So it works both ways, which is why I always mention Ross Wilson. I've had it where the players, people above have had their back. Cut. long story short, have had their back. And there's no worse feeling. And I think Conte, when he was the head coach there at Tottenham, he tried to say that. I think he tried to say that in his press conference. But he couldn't actually say it, probably through breaching the contract. But I've had it. And when that's happening, and I'm not saying it's happening at times because I don't know, but I'm looking at body language and I know full where that's concerned. I've seen enough that if that's going on, you're doomed as a manager. You're really doomed. Andrew's going to be pushed to get his 2 yearly trophy if he's got that. And that tonight, what I saw does stick me to the stomach, because I don't care where we are now in the game. There is no room. I bet there's one Tottenham fan laughing or smiling in there, and I just think that's just not a good look. I don't like it.
Yeah. And Archangel reminding me, Andre Santos swapping his shirt with RVP when we were down to Man United. This is the biggest crime of all. Even worse than Madison laughing. Take our rose-coloured glasses off. And speaking of taking our rose-coloured glasses off, Jamie also said that, let's be honest, Sterling hasn't been a good signing either. And you're absolutely right about that. That has been a gigantic, gigantic disappointment. All right, Paul, the team who will rise again next season for you?
Oh, they're staring you right in the face. It's Arsenal. And the reason I say it is because I wasn't expecting that big a gap in the league. So when the season ended, we were talking about Manchester City and Arsenal catching City, right? Liverpool come from nowhere. But it has to be Arsenal. And I'm hoping, like we spoke at the start of this, that this can be the start, like some of the Gooners have said there, that this can be the start now. And have one eye on next season, because the league has gone. And I think that is going to be, for me, the team that's going to rise. There's still so much room for improvement with the Arsenal in the Premier League.
I wasn't expecting that answer, actually, and I'm exceptionally happy. And I think it's a brilliant way to also end the show. Yeah, why not us? And I really feel like this is a why not us moment, Paul. Change the conversation, build a new legacy. It's a massive opportunity to really change the narrative. And players are stepping up, and we've been highly criticised in the Premier League this season. We've had horrendous injuries. And before I let you go, in a quick nutshell, one of the things I did have on the list for you, as a manager, what do you think the impact of the refereeing and officiating and VAR has been this season? You and I exchanged messages a few times during some games, but what do you think?
Well, yeah, for someone that's had an early yellow card today, so I'm anti. But I just think it needs they all need to sit down, get their heads together, and make sure they're improving the game. Because it hasn't worked out this year. You can't have games stopped for 5 minutes. You can't be going up to the camera up to see two officials looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And I just want them to improve their know-how of the game as well. Forget the offsides. The offsides will improve now with what's going on. But the handballs we know when it's deliberate. We know when a player's trying. We know, in the game, we know. And people that have watched enough games would know. I just wish they would improve on that side. But I certainly don't. I don't think it's worked, in answer to your question. I don't think it's improved the game. We've got to keep this game high speed. That's what English football's about. The Premier League is about. We've seen it way too slow at times this year.
All right. And as always, I lie when I say I'm going to get you out on this one, because I'm really going to get you out on this one. Who does Paul think will win the Champions League? Question from a lot of the squaddies.
You want me to answer that?
I do. Now, and be on just
Arsenal. And I'm not going with my heart, I'm going with my head. Right now, given who they've just beaten, and then being able to go away from home and perform like they did against Ipswich, which is, it's not easy to do that when you've been on a massive high. Arsenal, keep them there, Mikel, keep them right there, and it's going to be an incredible season.
Well, Matthew and the rest of us really like that answer. And why not us? I said it on Sky Sports, and energy is everything. It's time, all of those things. Paul, as per usual, you've been absolutely brilliant. We thank you for joining us here on Squad Central. Come back at the end of the season and we'll have another conversation. Hopefully, we'll be Champions League winners. You can follow Paul_Buckle on Instagram. And I'm going to stay and do some housekeeping bits. But Paul, thank you so much for joining Squad Central. We appreciate you. At ease, mate. At ease. See you later. Thanks so much to Paul for joining us, Squaddies. I mean, and Paul's a straight shooter. He's telling it like it is. He's not here to blow sunshine up our arse with regards to Arsenal and the Champions League by any stretch. And yeah, he is awesome. We like having Paul on the show. Thanks, Paul. He's getting a lot of love from everybody right here. Thanks, Sophie and Paul. Let me put them all up so he can see them too. It's time to write history. Yes, absolutely. And Paul has really kind of come on this show and told us, you know, he's talking about Tottenham being a big disappointment. He's not afraid to say that on an Arsenal podcast. And so hopefully from Paul's mouth to God's ears and from our players' feet as well. Man, I can't tell you how I'm getting excited. You showing up at this hour, Newman, you get a yellow card. How many of you had this season? 100, trying to be nice and blow sunshine up my butt. Okay. Listen, guys, this is it. This is the time to be really excited over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Anything can happen. Football's a beautiful thing. We've been craving and wanting to be part of this conversation for so many years. We have absolutely been thirsty for it. And let's try and enjoy every single moment. So what I'm going to try and do is between now and however long we're in the Champions League, we're going to keep it positive, and we're going to showcase some of our players. We're going to talk to special guests. I'm going to have you guys on talking about what it's like being a fan as we go into these next few weeks. We're really going to try and keep everything positive and send out all the good vibes into the universe. There'll be plenty of time for a post-mortem. There'll be plenty of time to talk about what went wrong in the Premier League. There'll be plenty of time to bitch more about VAR and refereeing decisions. But for now, the time is Champions League, Mikel Arteta and the players, and supporting them and hoping that we can build a new legacy and change the conversation when it comes to the Arsenal. And yes, of course, we want to make sure we finish second as well. But right now, we have the opportunity to do something special. And I know we're all going to get behind the team. And I know we're all going to support the team every single day that we get the opportunity to do so. They're going to need our voices. And you know, for me, I'm so excited. I feel like there's something special brewing. And I hope that, you know, we're able to close the deal. It's going to be a monumental task, but it's a task that we'll take on together. One team, one dream. Woof, you're firing on all cylinders today, Lone Star. Thank you so much for joining, you guys. It's been a great Monday Madness with Paul. We appreciate him. I appreciate every single one of you. Chief Like Officer Tammy, thanks for keeping the troops in check. Please don't forget to go have a look at Albert's analysis of the Arsenal versus Lyon Champions League women's game. Another show coming up on that in the video section. You can check out Albert's thoughts. It's a quick watch, so please go support that. It will be very much appreciated, and thanks to Albert for doing that as well. Another Gunners Unscripted is upcoming. I know that some of you weren't able or haven't seen this yet, but please do go see it. It'll come in a different version the next time we do it. There'll be clips and photos and kind of more of an interactive experience versus, you know, two talking heads talking about the Arsenal. So look out for that as well. It's a show that I'm looking forward to kind of developing a little bit more and making it more enjoyable for you guys as well. Until the next time, look out on the community page for the next live show. Love you, Squaddies. At ease. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.